Hello everybody, I am Fuzzy Face. We're time travelling once again back to 1998 to continue on with this Ferrari career that we're currently doing on Motorsport Manager. This is the game that we're playing with the 1998 mini mod, which you can get on the Steam Workshop. It's free to download there at the moment. It is called the mini mod because whilst all the liveries are updated, the drivers are right for the 1998 season. The pictures, the logos, sponsors have not been filled in as yet. I think it's still currently being worked on, but it is only designed to be a one season playthrough, because after that everything just gets thrown out of whack because there's only the 20 drivers in F1 and the reserve drivers who are actual F1 drivers. Everyone else is in the other series are sort of like modern day drivers, and they will possibly get into the F1 series after that, getting rid of all the realism that the game has. Last time out in Melbourne, as you can see, we've got the real track names here. If you are a fan and you watch my McLaren series as well, you will know that I have downloaded the track name mod. It hasn't actually updated the flags, so whilst the flags are out, we do have the right names for some of the tracks that they are supposed to represent. So this time out we do have Singapore coming up, we have Sakhir coming up, the Bahrain Grand Prix. But anyway, let's get back to this. Last time out in Melbourne, we had a very good race. Even though it says it was sunny for qualifying here, there was actually a lot of rain in qualifying. The weather report was actually wrong. We took advantage of that. We out-qualified all the other teams. We out-qualified the Tyrrells. As you can see, it threw the order into chaos. We had the Tyrrell third on the grid. We had Minardi's inside the top 8. We had an Arrows pretty high up with Mikasala. We took advantage of that. We were under no real danger in the race. Michael Schumacher in the end being a comfortable victor. 11-second gap back to his teammate Eddie Irvine. Then there was a 10-second gap back to Jacques Villeneuve. Our main competition, the McLaren, obviously the McLarens actually won the 1998 season. David Coulthard only picked up a point in the McLaren. Häkkinen meanwhile scored 0 points, only managing to finish 14th in the race. So hopefully we're going to have another good result here, but hopefully McLaren pick up a little bit. That's what we want. But first off, we've got a very wet race coming up in Singapore. It's going to be, look at that, thunderstorms during qualifying, so we're not going to be, we're possibly going to be on wets for most of that, so we're not going to get the right tyre compound boost that we want for the race. And what am I saying? We'll be on wets and we won't have the boost that we've got from practice being on the intermediates. So I'm guessing we're going to be intermediates, wets, and then intermediates for most of the race. Do we still have a factory on this? I can't remember whether we have the forecasting centre. We do, to level 2, so we can actually see quite far ahead for the rain. So we're going to jump into this. We'll go for the Trans-Antarctic sponsorship. Part fitting meanwhile, the cars are very even apart from the new brake. We've just put a new brake part in. That's 987 at the moment. Actually, we'll work on another part at the moment. I think we do need to go for the gearbox next, so we'll just get started on the gearbox. We'll build the gearbox. It will be ready 11 days after this race. We might be able to get that into the race for the Bahrain Grand Prix. Anyway, as we were saying, the parts at the moment, Eddie Irvine's a lot happier with his car because, as you can see, everything is identical apart from the new brake part that we've got in the car at the moment. A slight advantage there to the car that Michael Schumacher's got. But of course, because Michael Schumacher is down as being the #1 driver, he's upset that Eddie has a better car than him. But anyway, we're going to jump into practice qualifying now. We'll come back when it's time for the Grand Prix and we'll take things from there. So the grid for the Singapore Grand Prix, as you can see, we've got Michael Schumacher in first place and we've got Eddie Irvine down in third place. Jacques Villeneuve, Heinz-Harald Frentzen third and fourth in the 2 Williams. As you can see, going down this list, it was another qualifying session where the rain played havoc with the AI cars. We've got Saubers, we've got Tyrrell, we've got Herbert high up in the order, we've got an Arrows of Mikasala high up again, we've got Rossi in the Tyrrell high up, we've got the Stewarts and Minardi's high up. Arrows, Minardi again, Stewart, and then we get the first McLaren in 14th place. Mika Häkkinen almost 10 seconds behind the time we managed to get with Michael Schumacher. And then we've got David Coulthard in 15th place. And then we've got the Benettons low down. We've got a Jordan, a Ralph Schumacher in 17th place. We've got Fisichella in his Benetton in 18th place. And we've got Damon Hill right at the back of the grid in 20th place in the Jordan, 12.5 seconds behind. The AI just can't seem to manage at the moment in wet weather. There was a tiny bit of rain when qualifying started, which made all the AI cars come out on the intermediates, apart from a couple like Jack Villeneuve and Heinz-Harald Frentzen, who managed to get out on the soft tyre at the start because they came out a little bit later than everyone else. But it's going to play into our hands again in the battle with McLaren. We've got Eddie Irvine a little bit less fuel than Schumacher. We are starting on the intermediates here. We're just going to look at the start. Schumacher under pressure from Heinz-Harald Frentzen here early on. Frentzen gets into the lead. And Eddie Irvine overtakes both of them. Schumacher falling down the order here. Both Williams managed to get past him. And we've got Mika Salo behind him, trying to get through the field, but he can't get past. We managed to get back past Jack Villeneuve. Decent start there. And Arrow's doing well with Mika Salo. Johnny Herbert as well, up into 5th place. We're in 3rd place at the moment. We're still behind Frentzen, but Eddie Irvine putting in an amazing lap off this first lap. We don't have to go a long time on this intermediate tyre, although we want to, because we are, look at this, we've got an interesting period coming up around lap 10. There's about 2 laps, or 2 to 3 laps, where the intermediate is the most effective tyre, but there are 2 laps where the wet is more effective than anything else. So we're just going to have to see what stage we're at in the lap to what tyre we go on to when we get to that point. But after lap 5 we should be coming in for a super soft tyre. Eddie Irvine meanwhile pulling away at the front here. We do want to go a little bit further with him, so we need to go, we can just keep going in overtake mode here. I don't think we're going to need these tyres again any later in the race. But Irvine pulling away here. Michael Schumacher a little bit stuck behind Heinz-Harald Frentzen at the moment. Managed to get past Jack Villeneuve, but Villeneuve coming up pretty close behind. And we've got Johnny Herbert in the Sauber, the Red Bull Sauber Petronas, in 5th place. Still here, we've got Ralf Schumacher's flown up the order into 7th place, but Mika Häkkinen still struggling in 11th place in the McLaren West. Coulthard still in 5th place. And Schumacher has managed to get back into 2nd place here. He's managed to get out in front of Heinz-Harald Frentzen. And we should start to pull away from this point forward. We should be able to. We're going to try cool these tyres down a little bit. The weather, still really high temperatures, even though it's raining at the moment in Singapore. Eddie Irvine, meanwhile, has got a massive 5-second lead here. Fisichella has been given a drive-through penalty for causing a collision. I don't know who with, maybe with Häkkinen, because Häkkinen's in pretty early. I don't know why Häkkinen's in the pit. What's he doing in the pits? Has he damaged something? He's got problems with his car? I don't know. He must have been hit by someone. There's obviously been a crash, which plays into our hands once again. So Eddie Irvine out in 1st place, keeping this gap at the moment. Schumacher should be coming back at him pretty soon, because Schumacher is the quicker driver. And we need to split these pit stops up so we're not double stacking. And we're already lapping these cars which have been into the pits. So we've actually lapped Mika Häkkinen, but he should be going quicker now because he's out on a fresher tyre. But it's sort of going to wreck his race with the blue flag. Schumacher's coming up towards him. Hopefully that's not going to slow Schumacher down here. He's got into within about 3 seconds. Schumacher goes past Mika Häkkinen. What are we looking at? The rain is about to stop here. Yep, the rain's about to stop. So we're going to get one of the cars in this lap, which is going to be Eddie Irvine. Since he's leading, he's going to get sort of a little bit of preferential treatment. We'll get him in for a pair of super softs. We want to go, oh, we need to be careful because we might need to go to lap 12, so we'll stick a fair bit of fuel in. We can always push and get rid of it if we need to. Schumacher is going to go another lap, otherwise he would double stack. This is actually probably going to work into Schumacher's hands a little bit better than it is Eddie's, isn't it? The track is drying off here. The track should be pretty dry once Eddie comes back off and he can actually push his new tyres as well. Since we don't need them, he can get them up to temperature. And did we have a good pit stop? No, a mistake on the refuelling. A mistake for Eddie on the refuelling. Schumacher coming round now, 1st place, so that has played into Schumacher's hands. So we're going to do the same. We're going to put a fair bit of fuel in Schumi's car as well. Into Michael's car. We'll go balance. Hopefully we don't get a mistake on his pit stop. Irvine though back out into 5th place. He is lapping a little bit quicker at the moment. Irvine wants to come in for intermediates, but the track is almost bone dry here. I'm guessing everyone else is going to start coming in as well. So what we're going to get out of Schumacher here, he pulls into the pits. I love the liveries on this car. I love the car edits that have been done. The remodelling, and a decent pit stop for Schumacher. He gets out way in front of Eddie Irvine now. And he can push his fuel for a bit. And the tyres. We're going to try... No, we won't turn down just 2 yet. Yeah, we will do. We'll go to push mode as well with Eddie. We don't really need to go that far with these tyres, so we can just push them. We've got another super soft pair of tyres left for the last part of the race. Meanwhile, we're way out in front. Jack Villeneuve, Heinz-Harald Frentzen still hanging on to 3rd and 4th in the Williams. We've got the arrows of Johnny Herbert Jordan. Ralf Schumacher done pretty well to get high up, and the arrows of Mika Salo pretty high up as well. But Ralf Schumacher in the Jordan from 17th place, I think he was in, doing excellent. And we're just going to keep pushing here. We need to turn down the fuel a little bit maybe. What have we got left? About 4 laps. We might go onto the wet tyre. Looks like the wet tyre is going to be more effective for a little bit. Then we can go partway into this, partway into the lap that it starts raining on. Maybe. We'll try splitting. We'll go wet with Schumacher. We'll go intermediate with Irvine. Should we turn that the other way around? We do have a lot of fuel. We might as well... No, we won't push the tyres. We can push the fuel though. We can push the fuel a bit more than we are doing. Try and build up a nice lead. I don't think we're in any trouble with any of the parts. No, we're not. Although the engine of Irvine's a little bit down. The car that Irvine's got, we've not managed to get his reliability up as much as we have for Schumacher's car. Obviously Schumacher, the #1 driver, he gets preferential treatment on all new parts. And it's going to be partway through this lap that rain starts to come. So we've got no need to pit this lap, because at the moment the intermediates are not effective. So yeah, should we go... Are we going to go wets after this lap? Just for the 2 laps? Or should we try and stay out? No, we can't stay out, can we? Irvine's tyres are going, so Irvine needs to come in. Yeah, they're far enough apart that we can just get them both into the pits this time around. We'll go for wets, because they're going to be more effective for the greater amount of laps that we need. And then we'll be making another pit stop after that to come in for a pair of slicks. We don't really need to go that far, do we? Just a couple of laps, but we might as well. We might as well fuel up to the end of the race here. We'll stick an extra lap in just in case we need to push, but we'll fuel to the end of the race. Oh no. Is that going to impact on Eddie Irvine here? We'll turn him down a little bit. I'm going to go wet, so we're going to fuel Irvine to the end of the race as well. An extra lap as well, just in case. Go balanced. Right, so there's 15 seconds or so in between these 2 cars. And here we go, the rain has really started to come down now. Could have possibly gone intermediate, but there's a lap and a half or so, because we're sort of behind where the timer is at the moment because of the wet weather. So hopefully we get a good pit stop here and we don't hold Irvine up in the pit. So a mistake. Schumacher just gets away though before Irvine comes through, and we've made our second pit stop. We're still in the lead. A decent pit stop for Irvine this time, and we can really push these tyres into the ground again, whereas we need to just go high mode on the fuel, because this now needs to get us to the end of the race. Although we are going to pit again, we can stick an extra lap in if we wanted to, but we're so far ahead as it is at the moment now. All these cars on the wrong tyre, obviously they're going to try and get through the rain without actually making a pit stop. Pretty bad decision because they're falling behind here. So as we can see, Schumacher now with a lap to go, 42, 43. So we'll see how much time he can gain over Villeneuve. It was 43 seconds. Is he going to be able to get a little bit more time than that? 47, 48. They're two sets down on what they should be on. So that should be 20 seconds about, but looks like it's going to be about 15. Or maybe 15 is the amount. So we should be 58 seconds ahead by the time we cross the finish line. And we are. So yeah. And we'll stay out on this wet for a tiny little bit. We've got a lot of tyre to burn. The rain has stopped now until the end of the race. So we're going to come in. And look at that, Frentzen and Schumacher have only just come in. And they're going to have to get off those pretty quickly. The AI still struggles with the weather here. Irvine, we've got a massive gap now. We can just watch these cars. We can just watch these cars go around now. We've got Schumacher. First place. Actually, let's make it this lap. No. Yeah, we should do. What have we got left? 8 laps. What can we get done? 8 laps. No, we might as well go another. We've got enough time. I don't think it's going to cost us here because the cars that are closest to us still have to make pit stops. So we're going to go so we know that we're comfortable with the tyres here. We're going to go until we know we're comfortable with the tyres. So we're going to set Schumacher up now. He's going to come in for the super soft tyres. Might as well stick an extra lap of fuel in just in case. We'll set Eddie up as well for the super softs. Stick an extra lap in for him as well. Although he's a lap over anyway, isn't he? Because that would round up to 9 laps. There's going to be 7 laps remaining after this. Right, so let's just have a look at Schumacher as well. Should have had a look. Right, so there's going to be 7 laps remaining after this. He's going to round up to 9 as well. Yeah, so we'll stick with that. Tyre choice, swap in, fuel same, pack condition alright. Yep. So that's everything lined up now for the end of the race. So hopefully we get some nice pit stops, although it doesn't really matter other than holding Eddie up if Michael has a bad pit stop, but hopefully we get a decent one here. So Michael into the pits, just tyres done, no fuel going into the car, nice quick pit stop out into first place. Eddie now hits the pits, he's just changing his tyres. Come on, there we go, good pit stop. And we're going to go to medium because he's can just about get to the end of the race with about a lap to spare. And we've got a massive gap, 38 seconds back. Although Villeneuve is pushing his tyres up. What is Villeneuve doing? Where's Villeneuve? Why is he catching up so much? Or is that just it filtering through? Yeah, I think it seemed a bit weird then, the timings, but yeah, so Schumacher's out in first. Villeneuve still has to pit again. He's gone for one pit stop. He came in for a dry tyre and he stayed out for all the wet weather on a dry compound, but he's still in third place, but he's going to end up dropping down the order. Coulthard is outside the points. Häkkinen himself is outside the points. 4 pit stops for him. He obviously got hit at some point early on in the race. So we can just keep going like this now. We've just got a couple of laps to go, first and second. Schumacher extending his lead here, almost 20 seconds in front of Eddie Irvine. We got 7th place, that's Jack Villeneuve. Absolutely storming through the field on a fresh pair of super softs. It looks to be. He looked at one point there to sort of be catching up to Schumacher, although he's sort of levelled off. I think it's just when we hit the slower corners that he starts to catch up a little bit, but yeah, so not a bad race overall. The rain really messes up the AI here, especially in this mode at least. And Eddie's got hearing strange noises from the engine, so we'll turn him down to medium. He's going to start falling further behind, but we've got a 40-second gap back from Eddie to Ralf Schumacher, who is 62 seconds behind his brother. And there we can see that Villeneuve is catching Schumacher's, because Schumacher's lapping pretty slowly at the moment. Villeneuve has actually turned his car down. Villeneuve goes past, blue flags, gets blue flags, has to give up the position again. Although he has worked his way back into 5th place, getting past the arrows of, not the arrows. What's he in the Red Bull Sauber is Johnny Herbert. It's pretty hard when it doesn't give the proper colours for the team. I keep getting confused. But there we go, Schumacher coming through. This should be the penultimate lap, coming through to the final lap. We might as well watch him close up for this final lap. Here we go, we hit the final lap now. We've got fuel, let's see if we can push it. Let's see what sort of lap time we can get on this final lap. Did a 121.6 last time. Are we going to be any quicker this lap? 6 tenths up on that last lap. Any quicker through sector 2? We're about a second up on the last lap. We've lost a little bit of time in that second sector. Third sector, probably with the tyre going down. A 120.3, possibly the quickest of the race. Eddie now coming across the line into second place himself. There's a 122.6. Ralf Schumacher in the Jordan comes across, coming into third place. The Benson and Hedges Jordan car, third place, and he's got the Williams of Heinz-Harald Frentzen right behind him. We've got Takagi in the Tyrrell up in the points, 7th place, and Jos Verstappen here in the Stewart Ford in 8th place. So both McLarens outside the points again, whereas we get a 1-2. So we're giving ourselves enough gap now for when McLaren start possibly coming back at us in the dry races that we might be able to hold on to it to the end of the season. Because that is another 18 points. Obviously there's not... If this was Current day F1, we would already have a... It wouldn't quite be 86 points because Coulthard finished 8th, which would have been 3 points. We would have had an 83-point lead if this was current day F1. At the moment, as it is, it's 36 points, but it is going to be a little bit harder for McLaren to try and catch up. Let's look at that. Häkkinen all the way down in 17th at the moment. Damon Hill 13th. Coulthard 12th. The order's been thrown up quite a lot here. We've got Williams in 2nd, Jordan in 3rd, mainly thanks to points from Ralf Schumacher. Benetton 4th, Arrows 5th, Sauber have picked up points, Tyrrell have picked up points, Minardi, Stewart and McLaren all the way down in 10th place. All the way down in 10th place. So we're not really bothered about driver stats or money coming in because this is just a 1-year save, a 1-year career. It's all the mod is set up for. 2.5 million coming in. We're still making tons of money. Unfortunately, we're not really going to be able to spend any of that money on anything other than new parts. So what we're going to do now is we're going to skip ahead to the beginning of the Sakhir Grand Prix in Bahrain. Obviously, the Singapore and Bahrain Grand Prix, 2 tracks that weren't around in 1998. So it's a little bit unrealistic that we're on these tracks. Unfortunately, there's no real way to change the tracks. We could have actually changed the track names and made them sort of match up, but the actual tracks wouldn't have actually matched up to real life tracks. And we've got a scouting report on Fishy 3 stars. Can't remember whether we looked at Damon Hill and David Coulthard as well, but Hill just under 4 stars, obviously getting on in years. Coulthard himself just under 4 stars as well. So we'll just do this before we skip ahead through the magic of video editing. And no team orders. Right, so through the magic of video editing, we're going to skip ahead to the beginning of the Bahrain Grand Prix, and we'll take things from there. Right, so here we go with the Bahrain Grand Prix. Grid order, ready for Sakhir. Schumacher, quicker than Häkkinen. This is the first race where we've not had a wet weather qualifying. The McLaren-Mercedes are back up to scratch here. Although Schumacher quicker than both of them, both McLaren split our 2 cars on the grid. Eddie Irvine in 4th. Then we got the Benetton of Wirtz in 5th. We got the Williams in 6th and 8th. We got the other Benetton in 7th. Then we've got a couple of Saubers on the 5th row of the grid of Valesi and Herbert. The 2 Jordans 11th and 12th with Hill and Schumacher. Then we've got a Tyrrell and the Stewarts. And then the smaller 4 teams going all the way down to the bottom, and Arrows right at the back of the grid. So hopefully we're going to get a decent race out of McLaren for the first time this season. McLaren being totally out of our range in the last couple of races. Schumacher off to a very poor start there. Häkkinen gets away brilliantly. Häkkinen getting out right in front. We are able to do this race comfortably on the super soft tyre. Coulthard gets past Schumacher as well. Schumacher having a disaster, and that's Johnny Herbert in the Red Bull Sauber getting up into 3rd place. So Schumacher dropping down the order, Irvine dropping down the order. A really bad start here for both our cars. We were hoping for a decent race from the McLarens. We seem to be getting a decent race from pretty much everyone this time out. Schumacher currently battling with the Benetton of Fisichella, managed to get past him. We've got back up into 5th and 6th. We've got a Williams in front, but the 2 McLaren-Mercedes, the 2 McLaren West cars, way out in front here. The West McLaren-Mercedes way out in front. It's going to take something for us to try and get back past that. We're going to remain in overtake mode here and stay in high mode for a little bit. Maybe not with Schumacher. We'll try turn him down. What's the weather like? 25. It is pretty hot, so it's going to be hard to keep temperature down on these tyres. Schumacher, though, will go high again since we're pretty close to Jack Villeneuve in the Williams, although he goes flying ahead once again. What I was trying to say is that we can easily do this race on a one-stop strategy, fuel-wise, tyre-wise. There's only 15 laps to this race. The Super Soft can do 10 laps. So we can really push this tyre as much as we want. Johnny Herbert at the moment slowing down Jack Villeneuve. Schumacher tries to dive up the inside, can't quite get it. Can he get some speed now down the pit straight? He can't get close to Jack Villeneuve here. So we're going to try to cool these tyres down a little bit and then start pushing with them again. Try to cool them down a little bit. Go into high mode as well. Schumacher tries to go around the outside meanwhile. So we're going to cool the tyres down a tiny little bit and then we'll start pushing them again. Eddie Irvine, though, goes past Michael Schumacher, and Eddie Irvine takes Jack Villeneuve as well. Schumacher Down into 6th place now. Can Schumacher get past Jack Villeneuve here? Seems to have got the run on him as we start cooling these tyres down a little bit. No, Schumacher can't make it stick. Gets the inside line now. Around this little bit of track, he managed to make it stick. Villeneuve coming back up the inside. Villeneuve gets a better run out of the corner. Out in there. And it's, oh, even running in conserve mode, it's really hard to get these tyres cooled down. But Schumacher managed to make the move stick this time on Villeneuve. He should be able to pull away now. So we're going to go back up into medium mode with Schumacher. He's in 5th place. We're a long way behind now. The two West McLaren-Mercedes. We're a long way behind Häkkinen and Coulthard. We do have Johnny Herbert in our sights. Eddie Irvine a little bit in front of Mick Schumacher at the moment. He's managed to cool his tyres down a little bit. We'll go overtake mode, try and get him a little bit closer to Johnny Herbert here. Don't think it's going to be possible, but the Red Bull Sauber having a really good race here. Especially for Johnny Herbert. The other Red Bull Sauber of John Lacey is down in 9th place, so Herbert outperforming himself brilliantly here. Eddie Irvine meanwhile in front of his teammate Michael, getting close to Johnny. We should be able to take him once we get close enough down the straight, but overtaking seems pretty hard on this track. And we've got 7 laps of fuel left. So when should we start pitting? Michael coming at Eddie here. Can we get past? Can we get past? No, Michael's still holding off, and we're getting Villeneuve on the back of us now. So we're going to go low mode. We're going to try to cool these tyres down. Want to cool these tyres down. Everyone, it should be running hot at this point. Can we get them back in? We just need to cover off Villeneuve if he tries to come back at us. But as we try to cool these tyres down, we want them in the optimum temperature, so they're running at the highest speed. Whilst they're up here, they do run a little bit slower. The difference is not that much, but a couple of tenths of a second is a lot in a race. And what we want to do is try and get past Johnny Herbert whilst we make the pit stop. Schumacher under pressure though. Schumacher under pressure. We're going to hit overtake mode now. It should give us enough. Villeneuve coming back now. We're going to get Eddie Irvine pushing on these tyres again. It's not a good race at all. Just the 2 bad starts from both our drivers. They're both sort of getting a little bit slowed down at the moment. McLaren just pulling away at the front. Schumacher in a little bit of danger here. 6th place and struggling to get past Villeneuve. Eddie meanwhile is right on the tail here. Right, so we're going to think about getting one of these cars in. Maybe make the undercut. Schumacher's tyres are a little worse off, so we're going to push with Schumacher for a little bit because he's going to be coming into the pits first. See what we can do with him. We're not going to risk a fast pit stop because as last time we saw, we had a mistake. We don't want mistakes to happen. But we're going to get Michael round this time and this time into the pits. Michael's going to come. There are 7 laps remaining, so and we'll fuel the car up and an extra lap so we can go in overtake mode for a little bit. And we'll go balance. So Schumacher's going to come into the pits this lap. Eddie's got to go a lot longer, so we're going to have to look after the tyres a little bit. Meanwhile, Villeneuve does get past him. Schumacher, meanwhile, is going to take Eddie Irvine, but Schumacher's going to dive into the pits this time. Irvine's into 3rd. We've had 2 McLarens have come in together. 2 McLarens came in together. Have they got problems with their car? No. They have. They have. They're both in the pits still. We shouldn't be seeing reliability problems. What are they doing? Coulthard's stuck behind Häkkinen. Häkkinen must have had some real problems with his car there. I don't know why they're having reliability problems here. But that puts McLaren way outside the points again. Sometimes I hate this game. Shouldn't be having reliability problems here. So Schumacher, meanwhile, is in prime position here to take control of this race once everyone else makes their pit stop. We're currently behind the Benetton of Fisichella at the moment. Looks like we're about to take him. He's having problems with his car. We're going to go back down to high mode. We're going to go into medium mode. Going to do the same with Irvine, who's going to dive into the pits this time. Irvine, is he going to get back out in front of Michael Schumacher? Schumacher coming down the pit straight. So Schumacher takes effective lead of this Grand Prix. Irvine is behind Fischer-Keller at the moment, who's already made a pit stop. We've managed to get in front of Herbert. We've managed to get in front of... Where's Jack Villeneuve? Hasn't made a pit stop yet. So he is going to be coming in soon. Are we going to be able to catch up enough? Should we push this car? Is 20 seconds enough to get in front of him? We're going to have to try catch that car up a little bit, aren't we? So let's try and push. We want a little under 20 seconds. Where is Villeneuve at the moment? He's going to be hitting the pits. Here comes Villeneuve. Schumacher, meanwhile, is going to round this corner. Villeneuve will need to put a little bit of fuel in his car, so he's going to be in a little while. He's got no problems with his car. Villeneuve coming out. Schumacher coming past. Schumacher takes a lead. The undercut working brilliantly there. We're going to have to sort of look after these tyres now, because Villeneuve is on the fresher tyre. Probably does have a lot more fuel to burn. Although we've got quite a bit of fuel to burn as well. And we do have quite a bit of fuel to burn with Eddie Irvine, who is still behind Fischer-Keller here. Schumacher, we just need to try and hold off Jack Villeneuve here. Fischer-Keller has actually retired, so Irvine is now up into third place. Johnny Herbert still doing excellent in the Red Bull Sauber. Schumacher, meanwhile, first place, keeping this distance of about a second. And we've got 4 laps remaining, so we've got a lot of fuel still to burn. Engine is looking alright. Running down, but it's enough to get to the end of the race. And where are Coulthard 15th, Häkkinen back up into the points, into 7th at least, so at least he's going to pick up some points. But McLaren are going to be now so far behind that it's going to be between us and Williams don't really have the strength to keep up with us. Frentzen 6th at the moment. So, first place, are we keeping it? Yeah, down. Schumacher's pulling away here a little bit. We'll go back to high mode, need to look after the fuel a little bit. Looks like a few bits going down on Irvine's car as well. We'll go low mode, we'll get his tyres down to temperature, and then we'll push with him again for the final lap. We've got no real chance of catching Villeneuve, but we'll see what sort of lap we can get out of Eddie Irvine on the last lap. Just see what sort of difference there is between the hot and optimum temperature tyres. It's been a while since I've run any experiments in sort of practice on what the difference is, and since last time that I ran those that sort of test was on the older patch. So what we're going to do is just see what if Eddie Irvine can lap a little bit quicker. We're going to be using... Schumacher's got a little bit less fuel in his car, so when these cars start to come over the start-finish line, we'll push for the final lap and see what sort of lap time we get. So when we hit this straight here, once we hit right in front of the pits, we're going to turn the car up. Right, so we'll go attack and overtake. We're going to do the same with Irvine once he hits that point. Once he hits here, and see who can lap the quickest. So temperature for Irvine is a little lower than that of Schumacher's. He's got a little bit more tyre wear left, but usually around these rates it is still around the same time. It's not until these drop off to about 30% that you start to lose a little bit of time, whereas 80% to 100% is the quickest time you can get on a tyre. So we'll just see who can actually go quickest here. Schumacher now pulling ahead of Villeneuve because we're actually pushing the car. So Schumacher is going to do... Irvine's going quicker than his last lap, although there was a bit of a difference, 150 to the 148. So Schumacher is going to finish on a... Feels alright. Schumacher finishes on a 146.8. Eddie Irvine finishes on a 146.9. So not much between them. That's about the distance between the two cars anyway. Obviously that tiny little bit of being close to the optimum range got Irvine a little bit closer, and on the fresher tyre as well. So it's not that much difference, is there? Maybe if we'd managed to cool Irvine's tyres right down into the optimum temperature, we might have seen a little bit of difference. But first and third is not bad. It's the first race where we haven't finished 1 and 2. Jack Villeneuve splitting us in the Williams this time out. Johnny Herbert doing excellent in the Sauber. Alexander Wirtz in the Benetton doing well. Häkkinen managed to get back up to 6th place. Not where he would want to be. Coulthard all the way down in 15th place. McLaren for some reason. Coulthard though, he just got held up because of Häkkinen's mistake or because of Häkkinen's car. Coulter would have been back in and out. He didn't have a problem with his car. I don't know whether McLaren are doing what we've seen in other games. McLaren, because the two top cars are quite close to each other, whether McLaren are aggressively chasing upgrades and then they go into the car without having the right reliability. But hopefully McLaren get themselves into gear sooner or later. I would like some races where we are actually racing against them. But it's not to be at the moment. Schumacher, Eddie, third. First and second, 8-point gap now between Schumacher and Irvine. We've got a 27-point gap over Williams. McLaren move off the bottom of the table, but only up to 7th place. Just wish McLaren could get themselves in gear and start challenging us a little bit. It's probably too late now unless we have some real disasters in a few races for them to try and catch up, but we can't do anything about what the AI is doing. We've got refueling 50% faster for Michael Schumacher now, so that's alright. And we've got first place. Money coming into the bank once again, but that is it for this episode. Another brilliant race. 1-3, and the Singapore race we got a 1-2 result in. So that is it for this episode. We've actually got a couple of scouting reports here. So who've we got? Heinz-Harald Frentzen is just under a 3-star driver in the Williams. And we've got Jack Villeneuve, 3.5 stars for Jack Villeneuve. Although he's got potential, but I thought he'd be a little bit higher than this, being a former champion and all. But he's doing pretty well in the Williams car for being a 3.5-star driver to keep up with the powerful Ferrari that Schumacher's driving. And we've had some time to get used to the team now. What are our main worries at the moment? I don't have any worries at all. So everything looking up here. That is it for this episode. We do have Estoril Portuguese Grand Prix. That is with the track names. When was this last done in Formula 1? Is it 93 or is it 87? It's quite a while since the Portuguese Grand Prix has actually been a fixture. Was it actually a fixture in 1998? I can't actually remember. I don't think it was. And then we've got what is Cape Town in the vanilla game, renamed to Monte Carlo as well next episode. So we've got these two races coming up in the next episode, which will be next week. But anyway, that is it for this episode. I hope everyone enjoyed it. If you're not already subscribed, hit that subscribe button down below. Give this video a thumbs up, leave a comment, all the usual razzmatazz. But until next time, I will see you in 1998 next week, and goodbye.